I was born in Brooklyn. We moved to Belrose, Long Island when I was 4. When I graduated from high school, my parents wanted me to be an engineer. I said, so I got into Cooper Union, which at that time was all scholarship. And it was probably one of the best art schools, I think, in the world. And I got into Yale. I don't know how. That was, they only took 3 students for the master's class. When I graduated, my parents had the immaculate good taste to migrate to Los Angeles. And so I was free, you know. So I had an apartment in New York on the Lower East Side, which wasn't chic then. And I got a job in advertising, a pharmaceutical firm. Then I got another job in advertising, Columbia Records. And you say, why did you get so many jobs? I said, because they kept opening my big mouth and they kept saying, beat it, kid. Then I had always done cards for when my family moved to California for birthdays and stuff. I'd do cards and I use old engravings and just do a funny line inside like, you made me love you, you woke me up to do it, you know, and things like that. Somebody said, you should really produce those. Said he knew a friend who was the paper buyer, or the stationery buyer for Bloomingdale's. So he arranged a meeting, I took dummies over. He said, okay, I want 10 dozen of this, 10 dozen of that. And I looked at it and said, 10 dozen? These are dummies. He says, well, get them ready and have them made. So I had to go in production. I was written up in the New York Times. Bloomingdale's has a new line of cards that is Take a New York, or something like that. And then Joe said one rainy, miserable day, a group of us were on Sheridan Square in the Village, and it was sleeting and cold, and I said, let's go back uptown. And he said, would you like to go to Key West? I said, yeah, that's that place down in Florida. He said, yeah. And here we are today. You know, I painted as an avocation in New York. That portrait of Joe. Key West took over and I loved painting. It was like I was driven, like I was a junkie, you know. I'd say, oh, that's a painting, you know. And I remember thinking, God, how can I'd be doing a painting and then stop and look at it and say, how can I do this? I never was, you know, I felt like those biblical writers, you know, like they were really just the fingers that wrote from the hand of God. And I said, yeah, the Holy Spirit's working on me, you know. But this is what I was meant to do. I take a lot of inspiration from everything around me. I mean, I loved New York when I lived there. I loved my first apartment when I lived there. But you take inspiration from the environment, the aura, the envelope, or the atmosphere you're in. 40 Years of Dick was, in a way, a retrospective of how I had painted over the years, and it did change. This show, You Don't Know Dick, is completely different. This is showing all of the things I did to survive, to make a living, whatever you want to call it, that I enjoyed doing. That was my type of work. But it's, I just think I've lucked out with everything. You know, I lucked out when it came to cards. I lucked out when somebody said, would you like to go to Key West? I mean, as my mother once said, everything happens for the best.